Good morning, noon, evening or night, depending when you're watching this video. My name is Legend and welcome back to World of Tanks and the NBTT'ay Replay. Or, well, pretty much on this point, the MB Toby Thomas Replay. Because, it's again, this guy. Oh, well, at least he's not playing the turtle, I guess. And without the ban of the previous NBTT'ay Replay that I put on him with the turtle, this would be his 7th replay featuring on the NBTT'ay Replay series. He's playing his IS-3, the tier 8 Russian heavy tank, or the OG tier 8 Russian heavy tank, because we have so many tier 8 Russian heavy tank these days, but this one was among the first, the original from the tech tree. It really is great to see a replay with this tank again, because it's been massively power crept. I remember well that when the Defender came out and I got that tank, I pretty much stopped playing the IS-3 altogether. First on the competitive field and also in random battles, the Defender was just more inclined towards the meta. But the IS-3 is actually still quite reliable when put into the correct hands, and Toby Thomas is definitely the correct hands in this particular game, where he is occupying quite the important location. I've actually talked to him about this particular location and he is pretty much always going here, and well, not surprisingly, because I think this is pretty much the go-to location for heavy tanks all the time, especially from the north spawn. So what he has been doing here for the time being is just working this location. Even though there are some hills, it's not that steep that he cannot use his gun depression. He's actually making very good use of his limited gun depression. But this location turns from good towards essential when both of his light tanks are dead. Now at some point the enemies do make their move more forward because of the lack of light tank spotting for Toby's team, but Toby is still occupying this location, which is actually able to spot the enemy tanks early enough when they are progressing through this flank, showing yet again the importance of this location, both being a hold down location where you can brawl, but also when you put into the situation, you can still spot quite early on for your team. And that way, Toby Thomas is actually also racking up some decent amount of spotting damage that way. Alongside with that, of course, focusing down the one-shots, it's pretty much status quo on this point, and also keep the focus on the enemy light tank, which if he gets despotted and all would still be quite a nuisance to deal with on that flank. But eventually the light tank does come out of his hiding spot and tries to go for his artillery. Leads his shot perfectly, tips a little bit down, even though the IS-3 doesn't have the best of accuracy. But again, with good marksmanship, you can still shoot quite reliably. But of course, great marksmanship can only carry you that much, as we saw against the T-34 Mod 1 slightly earlier on, that he just had a complete what the fuck shot. And it is slightly later on that he goes in, when the enemies are pretty much surrounded by his team, but his team is not too close to steal all of his damage. Toby is making sure that he is still on the front line, but knowing that the enemy tanks cannot straight up YOLO him without being killed by the rest of his team. When earlier on, if his team from the south flank hadn't been there, the focus of the enemy team could still direct all towards Toby himself, including the focus of that Turtle Mark 1, which Toby reluctantly is now butchering down. Well, of course not reluctantly, he's just showing his dominance that only he can play the Turtle Mark 1 the best. And with the turtle gone, it is only the Sharp Future 4, which Toby actually also kills himself, even though the Sharp was pretty much surrounded by his team. Making up for an excellent game with over 1000 damage on damage done, damage blocked and spotting damage as well. But how much did he accumulate for his end result? Well, with the total of 4,500 damage and nearly 5,000 damage spotted, he nearly gets a 10k combined game. And of course, that kind of game is an ace tanker in the IS-3, alongside with, of course, an high caliber. With that amount of damage and ludicrous amount of spotting damage for an heavy, of course, this amount of experience exceeds all the way to just above 1800 base experience. However, Toby did dabble a lot into his golden ammunition resupply. I believe that is because he's free marking the IS-3 and that's the reason why he carried quite the amount of APCR rounds. Fortunately, that way he didn't make profit on this game, but well, for every game that he didn't make profit in his IS-3, he has another Turtle Mark 1 game, of course. So some final notes of this game. This location right there is by far the best location to go. Always go there with your heavy tank, your hull down, and if the odds are against you, you can still spot for your team if your light tank presence has been wiped out on that flank. Moreover, this particular ridgeline also covers his lackluster gun depression and is flat enough in order for him to still deal some damage when peeking above it. Furthermore, it's mainly some focus firing, trying to get the one-shots, trying to get the light tank, and going in further when you are certain that the enemy teams cannot heavily punish you when you make that certain push. And with that, that's the end of this video. Hope you learned something. I certainly did, although I heard a lot that this is quite the well-known location, so well, maybe I'm the dumb one here. I'm playing not as frequently anymore, so I have my reasons for that. But well, take from this video what you can, and I will see you in the next one. Laters!